So thanks so much. It's such a pleasure to be here. And it's been such a joy to visit your city over the past couple days and see how animated the downtown has become. The last time I was here in Knoxville was in 2004, I believe, and it just seems like it's changed so much since then. Today I'm just going to read a small introduction, and then I'm going to go through the work. And my goal is to be pretty quick about it. But the first part, I just want to take a moment to read because I want to get a few things a little bit precise. A true collaboration, the work shown tonight is accomplished with my husband and partner, John Enright, over the past 20 years, as well as a large family of collaborators in the studio. This work reflects our efforts to seek a new authenticity by synthesizing multiple perspectives, some that accentuate local conditions, while others, more essential, create new lasting identities. Let's see. I see. Okay, first problem, not advancing. Maybe I could borrow that. Oh, got it. Thank you. Thanks, John. Never having fully bought into the parametric project based exclusively on topology, our work is instead a foray into a new contemporary. Tonight, I will show you how we use strategies of deep inspection to harness local conditions to create new distinctions in our designs. Hybrid as a new strategy for an authentic. In a world where the thoroughbred, or the copy of the copy of the copy, has become the new everyday, perhaps an argument could be made for the mule as an analogy for a new authentic architecture. Underrated, the mule is known as a workhorse. It has built empires, it improves the life of those around it. With an occasionally abrasive character, the mule solves a lot of the world's problems. Mules are man-made. Their heritage goes back to biblical times. At first considered mythical animals worthy of kings' coronations, they are also known to have enabled the exploration of the Americas. George Washington bred mules because he knew mules could do much more than horses. They lived longer, they ate less, and were much hardier than horses. The mule is a product of a horse and a donkey, but is itself irreproducible as a result. It cannot be copied. So in a world where everything is a copy, perhaps the mule, or the hybrid, which cannot be copied, is the one of a kind that we crave. So can the mule, or the hybrid, or the man-made hybrid, be a new model for the authentic? In our practice, we have been especially interested in hybridizing qualities of matter, space, movement, and light, and their ability to generate new effects, new identities, and new experiences. Coming from a generation that is pre-digital, we conflate new identities and essential architectural qualities with new morphologies to create new identities that transform existing contexts that can be described as one of a kind. In our projects are developed from synthesizing very basic yet essential architectural strategies, and they often yield a nuanced quality that has the ability to transform the existing condition and elevates the project and the architecture. We seek to transform effect and experience through new synthetic relationships among previously disparate parts. Hybrids naturally enable this quality. They have qualities from seemingly disparate parts, yet they can become a new whole. And this new whole, the character of this new whole, resists the reduction to a singular reading or interpretation, adding to its character and to its authenticity. Recently, we've been reflecting on this diagram. We embrace the power of mass, stasis, and form, yet we are obsessed with the more ephemeral conditions of movement, space, and lightness. This diagram is composed of opposites, complementary conditions of matter, each essential to the architectural condition, yet each with differing transformative qualities, describing the inherent relationship among architectural qualities that we wrestle with while creating our projects. We seek new hybrids, sometimes through new typologies, sometimes through new effect, and sometimes as a synthesis of multiple geometries. We are interested in a blurry zone, somewhere between the fox and the hedgehog. We think the mule lives there. Our project differ in scale and context, spanning a spectrum of environments, from urbanscapes to landscapes to interior and domestic scapes. John and I are both urbanists by training, using figure ground to understand the spaces of the city and also when designing the mass and void of the domestic realm. Whether at the scale of a household, a school, a neighborhood, or a city, we seek new opportunities for cultural interaction to generate new relationships between previously discrete conditions. Meaning, we deploy strategic thinking to cross-examine site-specific conditions to generate new opportunities. So the first project that I'm going to talk about in a little more detail is our project for the Infonavit Social Housing Laboratory, which is in Apan, Mexico. You may have seen this project, part of not our house, but this project on the cover of Architect magazine this month. The project Infonavit is a bank in Mexico, and they own a lot of properties that have, let's say, become defunct. So they made a competition where they invited 60 architects to each design a prototype for a house that had to be less than 500 square feet. It had to have 2 bedrooms, and it needed to be, at the time it was supposed to be constructed for $6,000. In the end, all of the houses were slightly less than double the original budget. Ours was constructed for around $11,400. This project, in the beginning when we were working on it, for us to be able to think of a kind of prototype house, we needed to envision an idea about a neighborhood and about a way that the prototype would be multiplied. So our project has 3 different house types with 6 different roof types, and each of those can be mirrored, creating 12 different types. The project was then, in order to determine which ones were going to get built, they brought in Moss Architects, who did the master plan for the housing project, which is a kind of, because they conceived of it, in the beginning it wasn't clear that it was going to be a social housing laboratory, but we understood that the housing would really be deployed throughout the neighborhoods. In the end, it's built as almost a sort of a Wiesenhof, where each of these house prototypes are on display, and there is you can see the top bar. On the top is the building by Moss, and then there's a kind of tableau where all the 30 house types go, and this is our house. You can see, in comparison to the other projects, how discrete our footprint is. It's extremely tight footprint. And so we chose to do this extremely tight footprint in order to actually be built on budget. So the photos that I have are from under construction and not from when it was done. But you can see the bar on the top part, which is by Moss Architects. And then you can see the 30 projects that were chosen. So of the 60 original projects, they chose 30 of them to build. Our project, what we did for our project was that we chose to make this super tight footprint so that it was exactly just slightly under the 500 square feet. And in this part of Mexico, it's quite rainy. It rains about 48% of the year. So in our project, we used cantilevers to not only kind of gain more volume to our discrete set of spaces, but to create covered outdoor areas to be able to be occupied all year round. We also took this very tight footprint, and we sort of strategically, we made it a little taller. We expanded it vertically. So it's a kind of a cube house that becomes a little tower. On the first floor, the ceiling is slightly higher, and on the second floor, the ceiling is much higher. And you'll see in a minute how this gives you additional living space. We wanted the front door to be covered in all our schemes so that the front door always has an overhang. In this case, it has it's overhung by the small bathroom. And you can see in this sort of section axon how we have like an open space on the bottom, and upstairs we have 2 bedrooms. And one of the main idea of this expanded height was that for the second bedroom we can fit a triple stack bunk bed as well as a bed up on the sleeping loft up here. And so our project, the form of our project, it really comes from an idea about connecting the local vernacular in Mexico, which is a concrete frame and slab construction with block infill, and connecting that with a kind of thin shell concrete slab for the roof, similar to what Felix Candela built in the 60s in Mexico. And so we wanted to kind of merge this sort of higher art of the concrete with the thin slab construction with the vernacular. The form of our roof, instead of coming from parabolic ruled surfaces, we're still using ruled surfaces, so the structure can all be built out of straight lines. But we are more interested in the profiles of the facades, creating a kind of new character. So each of the little houses has a specific kind of character, a specific personality. So we called this the little house with a big personality. You can see here one of our prototypes. Basically all of the porches either faced south or they faced east or west. And we always had a more solid wall to the north when we were imagining how it would replicate. I'm just going to take this thing off. We had designed the house originally as a kind of semi-urban house. So we envisioned each house would be set at the road, creating the sense of a street, but also each house would have a little yard space, and these porch-like spaces would open up to the yard. This one on the left is the one that the prototype that ended up getting built. We had a super tight stair in the project, so that occupied a corner, and each house had a little skylight over the hallway and the stair. And here you can see the main plans, and you can see the kind of how this extra tall ceiling allowed us to create more space in both bedrooms. Both in the master bedroom, there would be extra storage potentially up there, and in the kids' bedroom, there would be room for more kids. So it seems like we use ruled surfaces in our work a lot as a way to gain a kind of constructible curvature. Although every time we use a ruled surface, it somehow seems complicated to understand. So even though our working drawings showed really clearly how you could build this ruled surface very easily, you could just use simple form work to get the curvature, we still had to send them additional files to help them really understand how to build it. So on the left, you can see a Candela example based on parabolic curvatures that had to do with straight lines. And on the right, you can see another project that we did where we had a whole ceiling full of ruled surface, and we were able to send them some of these images to help them understand what a ruled surface was and how it can help, how this kind of building curvature through this technique can be extremely easy. And here you can see all the points that we gave. Basically, we gave all the points to construct the curvature. And then you can also see how another thing that this curved roof did, in addition to collecting runoff water for gray water systems and allowing solar panels to be like integrated in the right place with the right slope, is they also hid the water storage. When you drive around Mexico City, you'll see in the neighborhoods everyone has their water storage tank on top of their roof. So we wanted to integrate that into our project. And so here you can see the final project. This is still under construction, but when you see it in Architect Magazine, you can see that all the other projects have solar panels on top of them, and they're very visible, but on our project, they're almost hidden. It also has solar panels, but they're practically hidden because they fit on the slope. This project is a project that we have done in Studio City. And Studio City is a part of LA that's near Burbank. It's near the Hollywood, some of the Hollywood studios that are in Burbank. And this particular intersection that our client owns this building on is an intersection between Moore Park and Toonga. And if you go down to Toonga, there's like a Roma Cafes down here, and there's a kind of walking quality. So our client, and this is a gas station that's right on the corner. So the project has visibility from both these streets, and from inside the project, you can see out and see the mountains. So our project, or our client particularly wanted to engage both the street, the life on the street, but he also wanted to engage the kind of cars, not just cars that were passing by, but the cars that were parked at the gas station, and the people. He wanted to have the facade really engage the people when they're filling up their tanks. So we developed this facade that has a variety of different kinds of windows, and these windows animate both the inside of the space and also the facade. So we have some of the windows project over the right-of-way and create overhangs for the sidewalk, and others project over his parking that's on the side. This is the conference room for the office, and this is our client's office, and then this part here that's this kind of L-shaped window is a kind of doorway that is his path from his office to his assistant's desk and to the rest of the people in the open office. Here you can see a kind of roll-out facade, and then this is that facade if you're standing at the gas station, and the kind of animation that you can see. Some of the elements, like this one, is a kind of light box that provides light to the parking at night. This is that view from his, this is that window that you see that's from his office to his assistants. On this project, we're just about to start working on the interiors. They really haven't been completed, but you can see, I guess I took out that slide, but the way the windows work is that each office has a different window at a different height, and they get a kind of different personality in that way. This project is a project that is one of the most, and I should mention that today I've organized the slides in terms of cost per square foot. So I'm going from cheapest to most expensive. So this project, which is one of our largest projects, is a project for a K through 8 school, and it was built for 1/3 the cost of a typical school in Los Angeles, which is quite a feat because the schools in Los Angeles are also not, do you know what I mean, they're not palaces. So basically on this project, every single decision on the project, design decision on the project, typically solved 3 or 4 problems at a time. And through this sort of efficiency, we're able to make the project super cost effective. So the church, the existing church is here, and there's an existing building here that was a 2-story unreinforced masonry building with a basement. And then the new building is back here, and we needed to provide within the project almost 200 spaces of parking, which is the parking for the church plus the school. So we didn't need too much additional parking for the school because the church already has so much, and when the parking is needed for the church, it's not needed for the school, and so forth. This is a kind of, this part of Los Angeles is one of the densest part in all of LA. This parish has over 20,000 parishioners, something like 8,000 families. And it's really one of the densest parts of LA. And our site is kind of, this is the site and this is the church. And then it's surrounded by other things. Like this right here is Loyola Boys School, like a Loyola High School. It's a Jesuit high school for boys. This is a city park. This is a cemetery. And then this is the Greek Orthodox church over here. So the site is a little bit of like an island. And one of the main strategies of the project was to take the required fire lane and wrap it around the building here. So that not only gave a kind of buffer from some of these other neighbors, which was helpful for the safety of the children, but also that fire lane becomes a way that we access the semi-subterranean parking. So the fire lane goes down, and then under here you can access the parking, and then it goes back up, and then provides like a new drop-off location. So this also became a way to get all of the parents' cars off the city streets. So before this, all the kids were being dropped off on the city streets. And it also provided a new kind of entry and a new front for the project. We located the new building, which is here, which contains the library, the multi-purpose room, which was also the volleyball court, a new kitchen for the lunch program, and some bathrooms that can be used for the facility. This is the plan of the existing building, and it had this sort of crossing for its main spatial sequence. So our new project basically also handicap upgraded the whole existing building. So here's the new elevators for the whole complex. We put it in the new part of the building. The other thing that we are required to do is to have a handicap access up to those elevators. So instead of just making this handicap access just 4 feet wide, we made an overscaled handicap access. We made it 10 feet wide, and it became a new pedestrian street on the inner part of the site. And you can see here, this is that new pedestrian street, and we made a small cantilever off of the multi-purpose room, and this becomes a new urban porch. And so the kind of pedestrian street like ends in the new kind of urban porch. And this urban porch becomes like a multi-use space for them. In the everyday condition, it works for the lunch room, the outdoor lunch room, but they use it for a whole variety of functions. And this was actually this was pretty cost effective to add this additional space. We used standard Volcraft trusses off the shelf, and we simply cantilevered them past this set of columns, which are also provide the shear for the project. And we're able to get this kind of extra space in the project. The materials are super simple, very, very lightweight steel structure. This is metal mesh on the ceiling here, corrugated metal, and the big splurge on the project was painted stucco with, reglets in between. This is just showing you how the kind of new circulation parts of the new building complement the existing and create like a new loop for the school so that they could have multiple ways for the children to move around. This school is used 24/7. It's used from, say, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. for the children. There's before school care and after school care because these are working families. And then it's used in the evenings during the week for English as a second language classes, and it's used all weekend long for religious classes. And so it is used in a variety of ways. And it's often used at night, or children arrive in the morning before it's light. So the lighting on the project, which we integrate, we do lighting design on our projects, and we integrate that quite a lot into our work. And so that really is something that matters on this project because it's used at all times of the day. Here you can see the existing building, which I haven't photographed too much, but the big trick on the existing building was that we dug out the whole basement. And so we made the basement a much more usable space. We made new retaining walls around the basement and put the kindergarten and pre-K down there, and they had their own playground in these new space that's in the basement. So that was another strategy to make this affordable for the parish. This is the new gym, which is also a multi-purpose room. Again here, simple way to animate the interior, just using paint and overscaled graphics, so that you get this, when you look at night through the building, or even in the morning, you see the name of the building beyond, and acoustic ceiling out of felt, super simple. But one of the interesting things about the project is the way this new addition provides shade for the whole playground. So by putting the new addition on the west side of the property, we basically lowered the temperature on the playground by 15 degrees. And that playground can double function as a place for an audience to sit, while the urban porch then becomes a stage. So they can fit 5,000 people for events at the school. They use this playground also for their annual church fair, for health fairs, for a variety of public functions, and it's become a kind of nexus in the community. Sometimes it's rented out and they get revenue from renting it out. So this was when there was an event there, and you can see some of the kind of layering of the space. This is John Enright right here, kicking it at one of the events, and Tom Wiscombe, a colleague that we teach at SCIARC Beyond. This is a spec house that we worked on for Venice Beach. So in this project, we don't do a lot of spec homes. Most of our homes are custom, but this one was a unique developer that really wanted to do something a little more special. Even though they wanted something more special, we knew that we had to think very strategically in order to get this built and in LA this is quite low, 280 a square foot. In Los Angeles, that's quite low. I don't know what the cost is here. I'd be curious what you guys build things for. But the main strategy that we had was to kind of like take the width of the garage and make it a little bit wider than a normal garage, and just these are TGI trusses that we just expanded the whole length and just made like one bar. And then we made a little peel out for the entrance that you can see here. And this site was actually super skinny. So by doing this sort of shotgun house in plan, we were able to make a living, dining, kitchen space that was able to open up both to the backyard but also to the side yard. So that volume of the room feels like bigger in 2 dimensions. And so when you're in that room, you really feel like your whole house is like the size of your site. Super efficient on the upstairs, like couldn't really make a lot of double-story spaces, but the entrance is kind of a story and a half. And we get this kind of like skylight zone here that's a double that looks down onto the space below, but is a kind of extra room. But one of the things that we did to make the house like the kind of specialness, the special part of the house, in addition to the kind of camouflaged garage at the front, which you'll see in a minute. So even though the garage is at the front, it's actually camouflaged. Was the spatial sequence that we made where you come along this path and you get kind of bent and you enter into this, again, like a 14-foot tall space. And then you get this window right here where you get a glimpse of the pool. At this point, you're a couple steps up, so you step up a couple feet. And because of that, you can kind of see over to the pool a little bit more. And at the end of the pool is an oculus, 2 oculi that allow light to come through to the pool. And so at, like, say, noon, you would see a kind of shaft of light coming down onto the pool. And then then when you kind of keep going, you enter into this larger space. And then another kind of unique thing about the project is, like, on the upper floor, this part is a cantilever, and this is that oculus. And so this is the view when you're standing in the master bedroom. You kind of feel like you're floating over the pool. You kind of look down, and you're really just floating over the pool. And so this is how we camouflaged the garage at the front. We just made a flush garage, and we kind of used grasscrete for the driveway. So even though the garage is at the front, you really read this kind of more of the floating box and this kind of peel-out entry that you see on the left. Here's that kind of way that that kind of like story and a half space that you enter into, and this is how you kind of glimpse out to the pool. There you see it again. This is how the side yard really becomes this kind of usable space of the house, and how the cantilever provides a kind of animation and floats over the pool. And here is the super simple loft-like space. We do architecture, interiors, and landscape, but we did not do these furniture. This is staged. But just to say. Here is that oculus, the kind of double oculus, and the master bedroom and the porch for the master bedroom. And this are some more views of the house and how that side yard really becomes a usable space. This project, the photos that you're going to see, they're not professional photos, they're just my iPhone photos, but this is what we call the bridge house, part bridge, part stage. I'm calling it the Griffin Enright Power Station because this is where John and I live, and this is where we get our power from. So the house sits on a hillside. The hillside from the front of the street to the back of the property goes up 30 feet. And these partial sections that you're seeing show the house kind of like embedded in the hill, and then we have a guest house at the top of the hill that's out of the section that you see here, and it's over here. But you can kind of see how the house is nestled into the hill. We have this spatial seat, like we're very, I guess one of our obsessions would be cantilevers, another would be oculus, and another would be movement, how you move through space, and orchestrating movement. So in this house, you come up a set of stairs, and then you kind of slip through, and then we have this special stair here that's going to be, doesn't happen yet, but it's going to be able to be on a lever and move up into the skylight so that it can go away. We haven't installed the counterweights yet, but John promises it'll be this year. Anyway, the stair can go up into the ceiling, or it can be down, and you walk up this light aluminum stair that you'll see in a minute, and then the skylight is hydraulic, and you open the skylight and you walk through the skylight. We wanted to keep a very low profile for that entrance to the roof, because from the back guest house you can see over our house and you can see the ocean view. These are just some more sections. So the house, one of the ideas of the house is it's extremely underbuilt. The house itself is only 1,800 square feet, and the guest house is around 440 square feet. And so we wanted the house to kind of like merge into the landscape. Like I said, we also do landscape design, and we wanted it to almost kind of camouflage. So here you see the roof deck is here. This is our kind of old roof. This was a renovation, but it was a major overhaul. This was the existing roof, and the new roof here, and then the new roof garden, and the bridge that you see here, which is a 34 feet long bridge, which everyone needs in their backyard. And that connects from the roof deck to the concrete terraces at the back. And this is that little guest house that has a Murphy bed. So keep that in mind when you're in LA. This are the plans of the house. Like really, it's just one big open space, living, dining, kitchen. That's around 900 square feet for that open space. So what we really wanted to do is maximize the public space in the house, entertainment space, and minimize the bedroom space. So our bedroom is back here. You walk through our bathroom, super efficient. We didn't want any hallways, no extra space. This is basically where our old bedroom was. And here we made a walk-in closet, a laundry room, a closet for our daughter, and a bathroom for our daughter. And this is our daughter's room. And then basically our guest house functions as our third bedroom. So this is why I call it this house as a stage, because this is looking from the inside out to the garden, and you can really see that a lot of the house is about if you're inside looking to the back, or when you're in the back kind of looking through the house. And the garden, which I also designed, as I said, it has a lot of what I'm really interested in landscape design is showing like a change of time in the landscape. So the plants that I chose, different ones bloom at different times of year. So right now, these pink moly are in bloom, and they're only bloom for like 2.5 weeks once a year. And so it's just a way of marking time. Also, a lot of the plants create like a new ecology. I use a lot of aloe trees and agave, and they a lot of the aloes, we get hummingbirds, we get butterflies, we get dragonflies, we get all kinds of birds in the backyard. And then this courtyard that you see made of the round pavers, that's filled with thyme. So that's creeping thyme all in there, and that becomes a bee farm. So that thyme blooms twice a year, and that's all full of bees. And none of us in our family are allergic to bees, but the bees don't really, they get very drunk. They're just like sort of barely flying. So even though there's bees all in there, it doesn't hurt anyone. But what it does do is provide pollination. If you live near me and you have an avocado tree, your avocado tree can get pollination. And in California, there's a big problem with not enough bees. So this is a way of like helping the kind of, not only creating an ecology in our own yard, but helping a kind of community ecology. This is that aluminum stair that you can see through. That's eventually going to move up into that skylight. And this is that big open space looking towards the back. We have the clear story light here over the kitchen. And then another obsession, I would say, with our projects is we think a lot about natural light, and we like to bring a lot of natural light into our spaces. This is that roof deck, and how looking from the roof deck to the guest house, and how that bridge really creates a like a courtyard space out of the garden. That bridge is also a ramp, so that ramp goes down exactly 42 inches from the back terrace to the roof deck. So that 42 inches is the same height as the guardrail. So when you're on that back deck, you know, you're looking over the guardrail of the roof deck, and so it really extends the volume quite a lot. And here's the kind of view from above, and how you can see that it's like really starting to camouflage into the landscape. This is kind of like when you're on that back terrace, how you look through. This is, for many years, we lived in this house for 15 years before we renovated it, and we are always telling our daughter, you know, we can't fix the bathroom because we're tearing it down. We can't fix the, you know, whatever it was that was broken in the house. We can't fix it because we're tearing the house down. So when she was in 10th grade, she finally said, you know, we're not really tearing the house down, are we? And so then we said, yeah, we are, and we moved out when she was in 11th grade, and we did the whole project, and she got to live there in 1 year, for 1 year. And so basically we made a party house. Our daughter is in college, and now we have a party house. We like to have a lot of parties, and it's great because there's all these different places, you know, there's like all these different nooks for people to hang out, and it's very photogenic. You can see that there's a lot of opportunities for unique photos in the house. This is the view from our bedroom. So basically, it feels like we're living in the garden. And of course, someone was asking the other day, one of my friends, like, I guess you don't have a lot of bugs, which we don't, because we have no screens, and we can just open everything up. And we sleep. We have also no air conditioning. We have radiant heat in the house, and there's only 2 weeks a year where it's a little hot at night, but all the other time we just open it up. This is our view from our shower. So basically, even when we're taking a shower, we just feel like we're outside. And kind of another view of the back. You can see up here is this seating area with a fire pit. Over here we have an outdoor dining area that's kind of sunken into the terrace. This is another trick. By sinking that down, we don't need a guardrail here because this is less than 30 inches. And then also, if you're inside the guest house, you're not looking at the dining table. It's at the height of the dining table is the same as the height of the terrace. And then when you're at that dining table, you feel kind of nestled in there. We actually have a design for a new table that we haven't built yet. That current one is an IKEA one. So this project is the same client that we did the office building for. He's become a kind of patron of ours. We do a lot of work with him. But this was the first project that we did with him, which is a project in Point Dume, which is a very special part of Malibu. So Point Dume, if you've ever been to LA and you look up the coast, there's a big rock up the coast, and that's what this thing is right here. This is a big rock that kind of juts out, and that's Point Dume. And then there's another big rock behind it, which our site straddles. So our site sits half on the big rock and then half off the big rock. So that retaining wall is right here. There's a retaining wall that's like part of that, the edge of that big rock. And then this is the kind of lower part, and that's the kind of upper part. And this is a landscape drawing where we're drawing like the house and the landscape as if it's one thing. What I can show here is the house is like, again, it's also nestled into the hill, so you enter at a mid-level, and you can either go up to the bedroom or you can go down half a flight to the main living spaces. And so what you do when you enter this kind of halfway up is you enter here, and it's a very tall, thin, vertical slot of space with a clear story light coming in from above, and then you kind of descend down in. We on purpose just want a peak of the ocean, and then you kind of, as you descend down in and you begin to kind of turn this corner, at a certain moment, the whole like horizontal view of the ocean opens up. Here in the plan, we have the kind of living dining space. The kitchen is in here. This is a library, a laundry room, media room. This is a grandmother suite back here off of this back courtyard. And the kind of shapes of the project have a lot to do with setting up the views like down the coastline. They also have, the coastline has a particular shape, and when you design a project on the ocean, in the daytime it's very nice to look out at the ocean, but at nighttime the ocean is just kind of black. So the better nighttime view on this house is down the coast to Santa Monica and beyond, where you can see the city lights. So this angle right here that you see, this is about setting up the view to the ocean. And then on the second story, this kind of peel back that we have, that's about like setting up the view like down the coastline. This is the second story, so basically if you were to come up the second story, you'd come up this stair, and then this is the whole master suite. And we developed these peel-out windows for the project so that these back bedrooms and that this master bathroom shower could have this ocean view. And basically, Mike, the owner, he loves these peel-out windows and wanted them at his office as well. This is a kind of worm's eye sectional axon, but it shows this kind of double-story space. And one of the other kind of big moves of the project was that the library is in this corner right here. So we developed this brise-soleil that's fabricated with stainless steel frame and then ipe wood put on it. And this brise-soleil feels like the kind of bookshelves are like pulled out of the library, and then they become the guardrail for the second story deck that's off the master bedroom. But they also become this like overscaled element that creates this kind of facade for the back of the house. This is the front of the house, and you can see how this is that double-story space I was describing, and how the kind of view it feels like a glimpse. And this is that main entrance into that vertical slot of space, and then as you move down, you see kind of this view. This is this. We integrate, as I said before, all the lighting in our projects, and so this is a kind of light box that's like part furniture, part architecture, but it's made of eco-resin seagrass, and it was a way to kind of bring light into the middle of the project. And then basically this is that kind of horizontal view that you get opened up to. Here you can see this kind of sloped wall beyond, and then that's the pool, and so the pool is located to take your eye like out to the ocean. These are two of the views of the hallway. This is a view from the master bedroom, looking back to that front entry. And this is a view from the kind of bridge looking kind of through the master bedroom. The master bedroom has a sliding panel that can be opened or closed, so you can have it feel really open, or you can kind of have your privacy and close it off. This is that view from the back where you kind of see this, these peel-out windows and this kind of interest in a kind of mass on the second floor that we kind of float. And then here's how in the media room we created these light boxes that basically light up the driveway at night. This is that peek through. This is that knuckle in the plan on the second story, and this is the master bathroom, which is an open bathroom. The toilet is tucked behind here, but other than that, when you're in your bedroom, you kind of are in the bathroom, or vice versa. And this is this kind of wall, this sloped wall that relates to the mountains beyond, but that creates this kind of back of house part of the yard where we have the barbecue, the outdoor kitchen back here, the outdoor shower, and you can get to the jacuzzi, versus the kind of front of house, which you see here. And this are those little stairs that get through to that, and the pool is right here. So here we have this impromptu kind of amphitheater with this fire pit. And then this project is a project that is more in the center of town. It's in what's most people consider like the design district of Los Angeles. This part of the city, you can walk to do your dry cleaning, you can walk to get groceries, there's restaurants right there, so it's a kind of semi-urban site. But again, what we were looking at here is this kind of intersection of this vertical slot of space and then this kind of horizontal space of the living room. So you can see that there. Here you can see this kind of worm's eye axon of that vertical slot of space, and that vertical slot is a kind of curved, a curved space, and the curve of that space is so that it basically tracks the sun from east to west. And then in the house, we brought the pool. We wanted the pool to feel like it was coming into the house. So this is how you can see the pool is like coming into the house. And the kind of pool and this double-story space, they kind of like interlock, and they create this super unique experience within the house. So here's, you can see that here. We have this glass bridge. I guess that would be another obsession of ours, glass floors. I recently read that only male architects design glass floors, but actually I'm here to say that female architects like glass floors too, in spite of the fact that it might be a little voyeuristic. And we like to have see-through bridges, we like to have see-through floors, we love the feeling of floating, we love the kind of dangerous feeling of going across it, and both John and I are obsessed with this, I would say. So this is the glass bridge, and then this is that slot of space that you see and how it ends in this seamless glass element that comes down, and like the seamless pool that like basically feels like it goes right up into that piece of glass. So this whole space has also a sun shading device that you see here. It's a translucent sun shading device with a 3-form material that's creates refractive light. So the light that comes into this space is like indirect for the most part. You can see there's certain times of days where you can get some direct light, but for the most part it's indirect light. And you can sit at this living room and read a book without any lights during the day. And so here you see the plan. And here you see again that kind of volume of space and then the kind of interlock with the pool. And in the plan, this is a sycamore tree that's kind of on axis with this whole space. So when you're in that space, you look out and you have the sycamore tree on one side, and then you look out the other way, and it's a kind of garden oasis in the backyard. And basically, this space, this living space that you see here, that whole void, you really feel like it's again the whole dimension of the site. And then the spatial sequence of the house is that you kind of enter with a kind of glimpse on axis, you're brought off axis, and you move along, and then at entry you're in this kind of, I don't have a photo of it, but this more like smaller space like under the landing of the stair. And then as you begin to track along the curve, there's this moment where the whole like horizontal view to the garden oasis like opens up. So in our projects, especially in the houses, but in a lot of our projects, we're really interested in creating a series of thresholds and in orchestrating the movement. So one of the movement systems is how you can come in through the kitchen, go out here and move around the pool and come back in the living room. And another one of the movement systems is how you can go up this set of stairs. You get to a midpoint landing where there's a deck, a roof deck. You walk through basically that translucent, the sunshade comes down and becomes a translucent wall that you walk through at that deck. And then at that point you can also on that landing get turned around and go up another few set of stairs where you can then access the master suite is above here, and the children's rooms are over here, and then this is the bridge. And the bridge lines exactly up with the stairs that come from the garage underneath, which is also one of the tricks of the project. So this is in a methane zone in Los Angeles. It's near the La Brea tar pits. So this part of Los Angeles, the reason why we have tar pits is because that's part of this whole part of the city was all marshlands. And so there's methane underneath of it. So because we needed to remediate for that, it was cost effective actually to put a basement in this house. And so we were able to put the garage under the house. And you may or may not know, but in Los Angeles, there's not a lot of basements in houses, although right now everyone's starting to build basements because of the new building codes are not allowing you to have a lot of area in your houses. But anyway, the trick of this project, if you look at this figured ground, of course, the typical scenario in this neighborhood is that the garages are in the back and the driveways move along one side. So by putting the garage underneath, we were able to maximize the width of the house to make it not use the whole backyard, and so that we could get like a backyard space. And then their accessory structure is a small office and a gym. And so these are just some of the photos of the project. You see this is that light shade I was talking about, and this right here is an LED light, so the whole thing can light up. And this is how that special translucent panel becomes a kind of wall that's like a blade at the entrance, but that you also walk through to get to this roof deck. And in the stair, what we used on this project is we used a dark ceiling. It's a rift-cut white oak with an ebony stain, and that helps the house, that floor, feel like taller than it really is. We used sometimes this high contrast to create more volume and more depth in the project. So here we have these travertine floors, and then we have the stair becomes sculptural by virtue of like the floor seems kind of mounted up to make part of the stair, and then the other part of the stair is made by like bringing the ceiling down and like lightly bringing it down, and then there's a gap between the two, so they don't touch. But this kind of modulates the kind of spatial sequence as you move through the project. And again, this is looking back out to that sycamore tree. And then in the other direction of the house, if you're in the living room looking to the kitchen, there's a kind of horizontal layering as you look through the slot. And then like this direction looking the other way is a similar thing. And this is that kind of how the pool just feels like it's in the space, in the house. And this is the jacuzzi right here. So if you sit in the jacuzzi, this is basically what you look at. The jacuzzi, the pool kind of it starts out as this seamless pool, and then it because the terrace in the back, this deck steps down to the garden beyond, so then the pool becomes like an object in the garden. And so this is the last project. Do I still have time? Okay. So this is a project that we did the design for in 2010, and it's in Chengdu, China. Well, when you do projects in China, you may or may not know, I'm sure you guys do, but you never do the construction documents unless you have an office in China. If you don't have an office in China, you basically do a pretty extensive DD, and then they do it through the Chinese Institute, the construction documents. So this is the city of Chengdu, and basically this developer is making a whole new city south of the city of Chengdu, and this city is a water city. So the whole city is built like on a new lake, and this topography, the existing topography before they started building the city, it was a place where there was a series of mounds, a kind of flat land with a series of mounds. So everywhere the mounds are, they become these islands. And so our project is we designed 46 villas on an island. So our island is right here, and it's still under construction. But the first 6 or so houses are completed. Even though they called them villas, really it's a pretty dense, let's say, distribution. So we really saw them as a kind of townhome typology. So our strategy was to take this townhome typology and to kind of like pinch it. And through this pinching, we would get these views from the back of the house to the water. So not only have views from the parts of the house that are in the front, but views from the parts that are at the back through these garden courtyards that we would also make. So the pinch gets us the ability to kind of view through it, and also creates a series of garden courts in between each house. And so this is the site plan. Actually, this site plan shows, I think, 52 houses, but they in the end reduced the amount, which we detected from Google Earth, our friend Google Earth. So, but here you can see in this house, not only did we incorporate that kind of pinch idea, but we also have similar strategies that I just showed you on the Birch residence happening in all of these, where you get this kind of internal movement system, you get this slot of space that brings light into the center of the house, and you get these kind of internal orchestration of movement, like that orchestrates family life, daily life, and also brings light into the house. So there's an aerial view, and here you can see some of those slots, and you can see the elements like pools, other skylights. Here we didn't need a sunshade because they actually have a lot of cloudy days, so we didn't need the sunshade, but in the other house that we did in LA, that sunshade is quite useful. It would be very hot if we didn't have it. And here you can see some of the, these geometries, I should also say, they're all ruled surfaces. So again, easy to construct. They're using a variety of materials of metal, some metal, a lot of stone. And our students, we have a lot of students from Chengdu, China, and our students tell us that this housing complex is the most sought after of all the ones they're doing, and it has like a waiting list to get on, to buy one of these houses. Each of the houses is set into the ground, so you enter on the middle level. And so the street is on the middle level, and then the lakeside access is from the lower level, and then the bedrooms are on the upper level. And so here you see that basement level, which has home theaters and entertainment type spaces and has the pools. Here's the main level that you enter on, which has most of the public living spaces as well as the parking and the entries. And these are the upper level bedrooms. And here you can see some of those garden spaces and how they're starting to sort out. But really, the geometries that you're looking at, like we gave them our Rhino models, and which is funny. This is one thing we're learning in our practice, that actually our silly Rhino models are becoming BIM. Don't need Revit. We have another project where the contractor, the sub recently did shop drawings for steel, for curved steel from our Rhino model. So this is one of the houses. It has this kind of floating object intended to feel kind of boat-like, relating to the water. That's where the master bedroom is. These are the plans for that. So here in China, everything is concrete, cast-in-place concrete construction, which of course we don't get to do much in California, which is why we embrace the concrete in the Mexico project, and why we're super interested to see how it plays out in China. But the thing is, they use a very low PSI concrete. So if you look at these spans, they're very short spans, and they're huge columns. But nonetheless, we were able to get to work out these geometries with this construction system. So the DD that we did included all the structural integration. So that's what I'm saying. It was a very advanced DD. So in this house, we actually split the garages. So instead of 1 2-car garage, we made 2 1-car garages so that you could move through them. And then this is one of the smaller house types, actually. So you have the kitchen over here, and all their kitchens have to have a second kitchen, which is like where the hood goes for all their wok cooking. And again, these are the bedrooms. So that's that master bedroom with its bathroom and its kind of entry. And then this is how these rooms at the back get these kind of views through to the water. And then this shows you some of those kind of spaces in between, and how you move through some of those spaces in between. And these are some of the views from those spaces in between out to the rest of the lake city, and some of the cantilevers that we were able to get, and the curvature. Thank you.